Hello everyone, I'm Saket Bansal and today I am exploring Scaled Agile Framework. The essential part of Scaled Agile Framework, you might know that SAFe offers 4 configurations. Now what we will do, first I give you a brief view of the Scaled Agile Framework website, then we look into some of the presentation content which I have prepared, and then we may come back to the website again to see some of the other parts which are not covered in the presentation space. So let's start from the website. So you can reach to this website by clicking scaledagileFramework.com. There you can find the details. And you can see here that there are 4 configurations. So the full safe is something which represents the complete big picture. Sometime when you see the safe diagram, you may see the full diagram more and more prominently. What we are exploring today is the essential part of this particular safe. So where can you find it? In the full diagram also, you can find the essential safe somewhere here. But at Scale Agile Framework, the website, you also can access the essential part separately by selecting the tab page here. Now you can see the essential safe is relatively small, less complicated picture because it contains the minimal set of events, roles, artifacts which are needed for an organization to deliver at scale. So we will go through it in little more details. Now, let me pick up the presentation part and hopefully that will give us more view on it. So overview of Essential Safe. Now, the Scaled Agile define Essential Safe as Essential Safe contain minimum set of roles, events, and artifacts required to continuously deliver business solution via an Agile release train as a team of Agile teams. So in a simple way, it's a essential configuration which you need to get delivery at scale, minimal roles and events which can bind multiple teams together for the common purpose and and help them in achieving the solution goal at a frequency, at a cadence, or you can say at the frequency of some time duration. And this whole process is done with the help of Agile Release Train, which is a virtual organization we'll explore in detail. And this is something which is called Essential Safe. So if I have to say it in a one sentence, a minimal to get started with safe, which is needed for getting delivery at scale. So now, what is the purpose? What help an essential safe can give to an organization? So in my view, this is what I have picked up based on my understanding of consulting people on safe and teaching safe over a period of time. So essential safe enables continuous exploration of user needs, continuous development of the work, continuous integration, deployment, and delivering business value as and when needed. So this part of doing is in essential safe. Now, in Essential Safe, you have a vision which aligns execution of multiple self-organized agile teams. It supports overall transparency in the big program delivery, the ways of working. It is providing an inspect and adapt at a team and at the team of teams level. So it's like this. So Essential Safe provide mechanism for small scrum teams to learn from their experiences, and it also helps teams to scale up and learn from each other's experience over a period of frequency. So we call it PI. It gives predictability on program delivery. So it enables predictability on program deliveries. It helps in exposing and removing impediments on a regular basis at a team of team level. It enables you to build quality in by way of continuous focusing on engineering practices throughout the development. It provides events, roles, and mechanism to actively engage with stakeholders. And I would say that by applying Essential Safe, you apply system thinking at the team of teams level. Now, when we look at a small agile team, we are looking for a one cross-functional team which is focusing on overall goal for what they are organized for. But when we look at an essential safe, we are looking how we can scale that thinking at a multiple team level. So you have a multiple teams working together as a one system, and as a one system, they are delivering business value at an optimal pace. So that's the whole part. That's the purpose of essential safe in my perspective. Now, how it works, let's get into details. See, the smallest level of scaled agile development unit is still an agile team, a small cross-functional agile team which is optimized for communication, collaboration. It still is the agile team. So the agile teams are at the foundation, and we create collection of these teams makes the agile release train. So we will see that agile release train part. In a simple way, we can say that we have agile teams at a smallest unit level in safe. Now these teams can build, test, deploy, define, build, test, deploy the increment of value. Many times this increment of value is also represented in the form of small user story. So if you are coming from a Scrum background, you can relate it with the small Scrum teams. If you are coming from a flow-based teams or a Kanban-based team, you can relate it to a small agile team which is working together, doing daily level coordination, either in the form of daily Scrum or a Kanban daily meeting, something where they are collaborating very, very closely. They work in the iteration of 2 weeks. So they deliver values every 2 weeks, the small agile team. And the way we have a scrum master and product owner role, you also have these roles in safe at a team level. So agile team will have a product owner and scrum master. Now you should not relate these roles directly with the scrum. So there are some similarities and some differences. As you zoom in and learn more about safe, you will come to know what are the similarities and differences. But yes, product owner still represents the customer to the development team, and scrum master is primarily responsible for facilitating and taking this whole development effort forward. Now, agile teams, I'm presuming many of you might be already aware of. Whenever you hear about SAFe, something starts coming up, popping up as a term is an agile release train. Now, what is this train, and where it is going, from where, which station to which station it goes? So in my view, in a simple way we can understand is a collection of agile teams which are working together for the common purpose, which are planning together for the common purpose, which are executing together for the common purpose, which are doing inspect and adapt together, is an agile release train. So it's a virtual organization which binds these multiple agile teams towards the common purpose. Now, the way SAFe defines agile release train is that agile release train is the heart of essential SAFe. ARTs are virtual organization formed to span cross-functional boundaries, eliminate unnecessary handoffs. So I think that's the whole idea of presenting agile release train. So now you may not, the way we in agile world, we don't talk about specialized in teams, even specialized agile teams. We do anticipate, in order to deliver value faster, the teams should be cross-functional, small agile team. Similarly, the agile release train should be also cross-functional. So which means the agile release train should be able to take work from a program backlog and on their own, with less dependency on other units or trains, they should be able to deliver it to the stakeholder, to the business. So the train should be able to deliver value, the business value to the customers. Now let's get into some more in detail of agile release train. It's a team of 5 to 12 agile teams. So now you might be hearing that agile team should be between, the scrum team should be between 3 to 9 and this, that, and you might wonder why these all numbers and from where they are coming from. So they are based on various communication research and theories, where it is observed that to a particular number, till a particular number, there is a good collaboration amongst individual. As soon as you start crossing that number, the collaboration starts declining. So in order to maintain that, we need to create a structure which provides close coordination, close collaboration for an X number of people. And beyond that, you need to create a separate group. Now, in order to consider that, so Agile Release Train is a bigger group, and smaller group inside Agile Release Train is an Agile team. So Agile team could be of a 9 people, but Agile Release Train could be of 100, 125 people. So in general, 5 to 12 Agile teams come together and makes an Agile Release Train. Now you may wonder, what if I have 200 people? Now the same, in order to ensure collaboration, alignment, coordination among all these participants, it is recommended to create two trains rather than just working and putting all these 200 people in a one train. So Agile Release Train is a team of 5 to 12 Agile teams, so 50 to 125 members. Now the teams, all these teams will have their own team backlog, the way you have a product backlog in Scrum. So in case of safe, they will have their own way of a team backlog. Now you may wonder, if they have a team backlog, because that is needed for the focused work, how they align with others. So these all teams which are part of Agile Release Train are aligned with a common requirement, common vision, common architecture, with the help of a program backlog. So you can say that we have a program backlog which is common for complete Agile Release Train. And all the Agile teams which are working inside Agile Release Train would be working something out of that program backlog item. Sometimes they might be taking the complete program backlog item. Sometimes they might be doing a part of program backlog item. Another part is done by the other team. So uh, uh, Agile teams which are part of Agile Release Trains are aligned by a common program backlog. They plan together, they execute together. So there will be events where all these Agile teams come together and plan for their upcoming work. And during the execution, when they are doing their work, there are events where they come together and synchronize with each other. So they are expected to plan and execute together. That's why they are part of the train. Now, you may have a situation where there are multiple teams, but they are not related with each other, and they are providing business values to different customers. Now you may wonder, should I need to create a one Agile Release Train for them? Now it's usually not needed until unless you have common architecture or common resources or something which is common used in all these different teams. So if it is not about always 100 people should work in Agile Release Train, 100 people working towards common program backlog should work in a one Agile Release Train. Yeah. So now they work under common cadence. So what does it mean? They start their iteration on the same day, they finish their iteration on the same day, they follow the same planning window, they follow the same execution window, and they have a program level roles. So there will be Agile Release Train level roles, which facilitate, and these people are facilitating alignment on the various aspect of software or solution development, like requirement, architecture, releasing, integration, deployment. So there are some common roles which provides this facilitation of integration. So I'm using the word facilitation. So each team is responsible for doing their part of integration and maximum part of their integration, but there are some specific roles which facilitates this overall integration thing. Now let's get into the roles, since we are talking about them. So now you got an idea that there is an Agile Release Train, which is a collection of Agile teams. Now I spoke about that there could be a program role, and there are team roles. We spoke about Scrum Master, Product Owner, and Agile teams. So there are two types of roles in an essential save. One is that common for the complete Agile Release Train, means they are facilitating all the Agile teams. The other one, which is the team role, are specific to those to those 5 to 12 teams. Now, each team will have a Scrum Master. There is a possibility that one Scrum Master might be facilitating two teams, but they have a role Scrum Master, not necessarily an individual always dedicated to that particular team. Similarly, they have a role called Product Owner inside the Agile team, and then they have Agile team members. So this is, I think, fairly understood Agile team. Now, here comes the program roles. So I have a 5 to 12 teams, which is having Scrum Master, Product Owners, and Agile teams. They are working and collaborating in a way, in order to provide a platform or environment where all these teams can work effectively. The SAFe has agile release train level roles or program roles. So we look at one by one. Product management. So product management is a role which is an agile release train level role, which is primarily focusing on talking to the business and identifying a top level requirement, high level requirement, which is relevant for the complete program. So the product management is responsible for getting the right requirement and ensuring that agile teams are aligned towards those requirements. So how this product management operate? First, they do proactively work with the customers, stakeholders. They collect feedbacks, do visits, observes, apply design centric techniques. So they do the exploration and discovery part of the needs, and they also play an active role in ensuring the product owners who are working with agile teams understand it in a similar way, and they play a role in developing that integrated understanding of the needs in order to meet the solution requirement. And that's the goal of a product management. Now, release train engineer. Now, you may find, what is this? That it's a funny name. So, since we have a train, we have a train engineer. Yeah. In a simple way, you can think of that he's a scrum master for the whole train. So this person is primarily, or this particular role rather than a person, this particular role is more focused on ensuring that the impediments gets removed, ensuring that inspect and adapt is happening, ensuring that teams, agile teams, are doing system thinking rather than isolating to their own boundaries. So that these are the type of work or a thing which agile release train engineer is expected to do. He also happens to facilitate various events which are done at a release train level. So the way Scrum Master many times facilitate Scrum level events, the release train engineer facilitate the overall agile release train level events like joint planning meetings, something like this. So he's a servant leader who is a facilitating and removing impediments and ensuring that overall system thinking is applied in order to achieve solution goals. Now, system architect and engineer. So when we work in a small agile team, which is like 3 to 9 people, it is okay to have it's okay to have development team taking the decisions related to architecture as and when needed, and we keep doing emergent architecture. But when we go to the scale, the architecture is still emerging, but the pace of emerging architecture required little bit proactive approach. So some balance. It and see, because you also the organization is also looking for an alignment between different teams, even when it comes to an architecture. So in order to facilitate the emergent architecture which is aligned across the program, we have a role which is called system architect. Now, system architect role should not be looked as that he will design the architecture, he will create an architectural diagram and give it to the development team to implement. It's not necessarily be visualized like this. A good system architect is primarily a facilitator who facilitates discovery of design, discovery of architecture, with the help of some containers or some thing, we call it them enabler. So he visualized the type of exploration which are expected to be done uh, little bit ahead in time in collaboration with various agile teams, and those explorations are done by the agile teams, and he facilitates overall learning and sharing. But he is the one who is ensuring an alignment and a proactive approach towards architectures, towards technical decision making for a solution. And that's the role of a system architect in case of Essential Safe. Then we have two more roles at a release train level: business owners and system team. Business owner, you can understand as a stakeholder. The term business owner is used in SAFe, which tells that anybody who is interested in the work which this release train is doing, and they are coming from a business side. So they represent. There could be a marketing head who wants to contribute and want to understand what is this particular development team is doing. Now, there is a difference between product management and business owner. Product management people are like kind of engaged in discovery and exploration and communication and explanation of the user needs, where business owners more like providing feedback, looking at things, and they are not that much engaged uh, uh, in the overall development work. So say a marketing head may come and review, provide feedbacks, and then go, but he may not write a features or do acceptance criteria work for the agile release train. So this work is done by the product management. So there is a difference between these two roles. I'm sharing it because I do find in my trainings people get little bit mixed up between these two roles. Now system team. So as we spoke about that there are agile teams and there is an overall agile release train. Now sometimes you may need a technical enablement and integration and configuration management and that kind of stuff needed for the whole group. Now if you need that kind of a work, you may need a small team doing it. In some cases the agile team can handle it on their own and they don't need any specific role to do this kind of work, which is a good thing. But yeah, in many situations you may need some set of individuals working for supporting the overall integration and work. So in that case they become the system team. Again, role in an essential safe, you can also see that these all roles makes an agile release train of 50 to 125 members. So that's what about the roles. Now let's look at an artifact and then we will look at the event. So here is a quick summary. I'm not teaching you the whole safe here. For that, you should definitely look for some training programs, which is available by the various partner of Scaled Agile as a body. So Agile release train artifact, we can see it like the artifacts, the things which are getting created at an overall Agile release train levels, and then we will have a team level artifact as well. The other way of looking at agile release train artifact is that these things are common for, or these things are used by all agile teams. So if I have 5 to 12 agile teams, these artifacts are looked by all these teams. They should be able to understand them. They should be able to make some sense out of it. So there are few which are part of a program backlog. So like features, enabler features, program epics, they make a program backlog. So features are like big size business value items, which overall agile release train can develop. They will further get disaggregated into user stories when the team will start working on it. One feature may be worked by one agile team, uh, uh, but there is a possibility one feature may get distributed in multiple agile teams. So feature is something which your business owner understands. This is something your business is giving to this team. Since business is primarily interacting with agile release train, and agile release train could be a 50 to 125 people. Now they need to know what kind of a requirement these guys are going to deliver or work on, and that is communicated in the form of features. So it's like an industry term which has a benefit hypothesis, which also has an acceptance criteria, and these feature also get sized and prioritized inside the program backlog. So features. Now enabler features, they are technical enablement related work, which is visualized, explored by system architect initially. So system architect looks and in collaboration with the development team, and they are the one which helps us in doing the the exploration of architecture, and we call them building an architectural runway. So that's, you can say, something which helps us in doing good work, important work, but not directly adding business value, indirectly adding business value, and that kind of features. And that's why they are called enablers. So they enable deliver of business value by the features, but they don't deliver business value on their own. So they sit as a foundation, and then feature will come and deliver it. Program epics. So this is like an epic which can be done, big requirement which can be done by the one program team. Program backlog is where you holds all these things together. Now, there could be a program Kanban which helps you to visualize and or you can say a refinement of these features and refinement of these enablers. And ultimately, when everything is ready for the team to be get picked, they will come and rest at program backlog. Vision roadmap. The way you understand vision in a non-agile context, the same way the vision is as a future state. You can see something which is coming. Roadmap, it could be of a 3PI or a maybe you can say a 6 to 9 months duration, what is going to happen. some projection of events and milestone. Those are the things which can come in the form of roadmap. There is something called program PI objective. So I will explore this along with the diagram as we go forward. Architectural runway, it is something like the enablers. Enablers builds something which is not directly consumed as of now, but which creates a foundation for future features. They are called this artifact is called architectural runway. And overall, this produces solution to the customer. And we also talk about solution context, which is like this solution operates in a context. So how the external environment will interact with this particular solution. So there is a possibility that the agile release train also think of what is a solution and which particular context it will operate. So these are the artifacts which can emerge when you are working with an essential safe at an agile release train level. Then team level artifacts, I think many of you might be finding them very, very familiar. So stories, which is a small, you can say you disaggregate the feature, you create stories because feature may not fit into a one iteration. Stories should fit into a one iteration, a small chunk of business value stories. The big enabler gets chunked, sliced, becomes a enabler story. It's not necessary that enabler story will only come from a big enabler. While you are doing a small chunk of a user story, may also create another enabler. So enablers could be locally identified in some cases. It can also come from the program level enabler from the ART artifact. Team level PI objective, what the team is planning to do in a given PI. We will explore this in more detail. Iteration goal, many of you might be already understanding, like the way we have a sprint goal, what you are planning to do in a given iteration. Iteration goal, team backlog, it is whatever the team will work on should be there in team backlog. And at the end of iteration, team produces system increment. So that's another artifact. Now I give a quick review or view of the events, and then we see how these events are placed in the time. So I'm just giving a brief thing. So you have something called program increment. We will see PI planning, system demo, something called Scrum of Scrum, product owner level sync meeting, agile release train level sync meetings, and innovation and planning sprint, and inspect and adapt. So these are the events which can happen at agile release train level. There could be an event which can happen at a team level, which is like iteration planning, execution of iteration, review, retrospective, and backlog refinement. Now, some of the prominent events which is I feel are essential for developing a first level understanding of essential safe, I am taking in detail. So program increment. Now, when you hear about SAFe, first thing you start hearing is agile release train. The second thing you may start hearing is a program increment. They call it PI. And you say, what is this PI? It is just a time duration. The way, and in general, it's a 10-week duration. So it's a rhythm. It's a time box duration, which is which defines the overall agile release train delivery or doing work. So execution rhythm. So the agile release train, all those 125 people are are they do planning for one PI. So they come together and plan for one particular duration. They work and do an execution during that PI, and and they have a proper finishing of the PI where they do inspect and adapt at a program level. So the program increment is a 8 to 12 weeks kind of a duration. And for the next discussion, I am taking it as a 10 weeks duration. Now, this whole PI is further segmented into iterations. So you have a 10 weeks PI, and each 2 weeks you are expected to plan iterations. So your agile teams, so these are the two cadence, so these are the two rhythm. So you can say there is a big rhythm which is running for 10 weeks. So you can say, okay, let's plan the work for upcoming PI. So it means you come together and plan the work for 10 weeks. Then the next day you say, okay, let's plan the work in detail for upcoming 2 weeks. Now this 2 weeks becomes your iteration. So the execution at an agile team level will happen at iteration rhythm. But overall, planning and overall inspect and adapt at agile release train level will happen at a PI rhythm. So these are the two things. Now you may see what is this final, the fifth PI has some special thing. So fifth iteration has something special written. So if you are running 10 weeks PI, you may do 4 iterations of development work, and the final iteration, which is the fifth iteration, is reserved for innovation and planning, which is mainly, you can say, it's more futuristic oriented, which provides a foundation for upcoming PI, which provides a innovation and technological foundation for upcoming PI. So we create a foundation for upcoming PI in this PI only. So this is how the PI and iterations are can be looked at. Now, the another thing which we need to look into is a program backlog. So we have been talking what is program backlog. It holds the upcoming features and enablers. So in a simple way, the program backlog items are the one which builds the solution. So you are looking for agile release train producing a solution. It means there is some set of things which needs to be done, and they are stored in a program backlog. They are maintained by product management. The system related, the enabler related work is maintained by system architect, which is an agile release train role. The program backlog items get prioritized. There is a technique called weighted shortest job first get used for prioritization. You can explore in detail at Scaled Agile framework for this particular technique. And this program backlog works as an input for PI planning meeting. So it's like this: what you have planned is you have a roles. So your guys are ready. You have program level role, team level roles, and these 100 people are ready to work. Now you have explained them that, guys, we will work in two rhythms. We will have a PI and we will have iterations. So that clarity has been done. Now these guys will ask you, okay, then what should we work on? Now, in order to solve that problem, or solve that challenge, we have a program backlog, so which contains the prioritized features and enablers which these agile release trains should be working on. And this exploration and finding out that how many items can be done in this particular PI boundary is done in the meeting called PI planning meeting. So these backlog item we look into a PI planning meeting, everybody comes together, they collaborate, they figure it out, okay, we can do this, we can't do this. And when they are doing this, they are looking for the upcoming PI. And at the end of a PI planning meeting, the PI planning meeting also gives an opportunity to stakeholder to come and see what the whole agile release train is planning. So it's a huge 2-day meeting where there is an active participation from agile teams as well as from the business. And once the PI planning meeting is done, the plan for upcoming PI is available for all these agile release train. So it provides you something which we call it PI objective. Now, as I said in that innovation and planning iteration provides you a space to do a PI planning for upcoming PI. So see, if you are launching this agile release train first time, then you may start with lots of preparation for PI planning, and then you do your first PI planning and then you get started. Subsequent PI planning will happen before you close this particular PI. So towards the end, last week of this particular PI, you need to reserve some time for doing PI planning for the upcoming PI. So in general, the implementation of a SAFe starts with doing a lot of preparation so that first PI planning meeting where PI planning can kick off, and after that the rhythm get started. So this is the another you can say an event or a yeah for SAFe. Now little bit more details about PI planning. So program backlog is definitely an input. You also need to see what is a business context, what is the overall roadmap, what was the vision for the program, and you may also look at a current state of a solution. What all we have done in the last PI, what was the good feedback, what was not so good feedback, where the product stand, where the architecture stand. So all those information are looked as an input that, okay, we know what the business is needing, we know what the program backlog is giving us an idea, we know our own situations, our own product, and then we spend 2 days and explore what can be done. And these 2 days are are expected to be planned in such a way which contains a lot of breakout sessions. So don't think that, okay, how these 100 people can sit together and do something in 2 days. Uh, uh, the PI planning meeting is designed in such a way that initially there is a briefing so that everybody develops a common understanding of where do we stand. And after that, there are a lot of breakout rooms where the agile teams get together and then they prepare their part of plan and then they present to the rest of the groups. And then there are some discoveries of gaps, and those gaps get discussed. Then again they get into a breakout room, and that produces a workable plan for upcoming PI. And once you create that, this thing gets summarized in the form of PI objectives. So you can say that this is a high level plan. I won't say that you create a coding, development, and all those kind of activities during those 2 days, not at all. But you do create a feature level and some level of story level work and identify where it will get done. And that helps you to come to an agreement that, okay, this all work can be done in upcoming PI. And it also helps you to create a high level plan of dependencies against the timeline that, okay, after 3 weeks this feature will get done, after 5 weeks this feature will get done, this team needs this thing from them. So that kind of high level planning comes out from this PI planning meeting, and we compile that particular high level planning in a program board. So that's what the PI planning produces. Now you are done with the PI planning. Now you go home, or you go to your home area. You means an agile team, and they need to get started. So how do they get started? They need to expand that PI level information to a more detailed team level backlog. So the team prepares team backlog, which is maintained by product owner of agile team. So each team will maintain their own team backlog. So now you can see an alignment. You have a program backlog in the beginning, then you have a PI planning meeting, and then you create a PI objective, which will have many items from a program backlog, and there could be some other items as well. And those PI objectives are given to are taken by each team rather than given, are taken by each team, and then each team look into the detail and say, okay, what should we do in detail in the next say 4 iterations, assuming a 10-week PI window, and then they prepare a team backlog. This team backlog keep emerging. It's not like that they need to do it on the day one of the PI. They may prepare the initial one, and each sprint they will elaborate it further. And this is what we call it team backlog. So it's aligned with a common vision mission with the help of a program backlog. At the same time, they do have their own space to explore things in detail. Now, iteration planning. So you are done with your PI planning, you got a PI objective, you got your team backlog. After that, you have a 2 weeks window to look into. And the way you do a Scrum sprint planning meeting, more or less on the same line, there are some differences. You do an iteration planning meeting. So iteration planning meeting, you pick up the item from a team backlog, which is influenced by your high level plan, which you agreed, or which you developed in the PI planning meeting. So based on that, based on the new learning, whatever the best situation you see in the upcoming iteration, each team will prepare a detailed plan for upcoming iteration, which is many cases is 2 weeks. So that is a iteration planning meeting. Now, during after the iteration planning, there will be an iteration execution. So iteration execution, the teams are working, they are also the agile team is synchronizing with each other, might be doing daily scrum, might be using a lot of visual indicators, Kanban boards to know where they stand all the time. Now, as you all know, the plans are good to get started, but things will go here and there. So we started with the PI planning and we started with the PI objective, but it's very impractical to assume that the PI plan will go as planned. There are things which will start falling apart. Now, how do we synchronize together? How do we know where each agile team stand? Now, they will definitely keep talking to each other. There are scrum masters, product owners of each team interacting on a regular basis, but there is also an event which synchronizes the work. And these events could be three, could be done as a combination of one, and we call them syncs or a scrum of scrum. So there is a possibility on a weekly basis, the representative from agile teams come together, facilitated by agile release train and program roles, where they talk about what is happening in the team, what they have discovered, what is working, what is not working, what kind of a dependencies are troubling them. So those kind of a discussion happens in a in a scrum meeting. There is a possibility of doing similar meeting for product owners, which can be called PO Scrum, or there is a possibility of combining these two meetings together and calling it Agile Release Day in Sync. I usually see it depends upon how many teams you have and what kind of a participation number. In my personal opinion, 10 to 12 people is good number to have the meeting. If the participant starts crossing more than 20, you may not get value. So it's better to divide these kind of concerns. So it depends what kind of coordination, collaboration, and culture of communication you have. But these are the three possible events you can do for synchronizing work of different agile teams. Now, the way we tell in general agile based thing that you should not wait for daily meeting to happen in order to synchronize or collaborate with someone else. As soon as you have a need, you should do that. Similarly, you should not wait for scrum meeting to happen in order to collaborate with other agile team. You can definitely keep doing all the time, but this is a platform which creates a synchronization across the agile release train, across the program. And the program roles usually participate very actively in these scrum or a PO scrum kind of meetings. So this is during execution and you see all these events. Now, by doing all this, you reach towards the end of your 2 weeks and you do review and retrospective. So iteration review is a team level event. So you have a system increment which got built while you worked on things during 2 weeks, and the system increment is expected to get integrated continuously with other system increment which other teams are making. So you have been doing it. Now your team level specific stakeholder may want to see small user values and enablers which your team has done, and that can be demonstrated in the review. And the retrospective is again for the team. It's an agile team event where they explore, okay, how can we improve our upcoming iteration? So review and retrospective are expected to happen towards the end of each iteration. Now there is something called system demo. Now you may wonder that, okay, the team level stakeholders are coming. What about the whole system coming together? What about the overall development progress? So there is a frequent system demo which happens after the system increment or system review or iteration review has happened. It is a program level event where program level stakeholders look at the state of system. Now, when we are talking about system demo, the things which are linked to a program backlog get demonstrated or get discussed, because the stakeholder may not have a that deep down interest in a small user stories which are done at a team level, but they may want to see an integrated system. So in order to do an inspect and adapt towards the progress and the safe, still founded on agile principles of the working software is the measurement of progress. So the system demo which happens every 2 weeks helps us in seeing where things are going. So this is something a program or agile release train level event, and not all team members are expected to participate there. So you may have product owners from different teams and the stakeholders at a program level participating in it, not the complete 100 people. So they have some other meetings to do later on, but they keep doing their work in the upcoming iteration, but the system demo happens at a release train level. Now, innovation and planning sprint, this is something towards the end. As you can see here, that we have something here I'm talking innovation and planning sprint. So you can say the week 9 and 10, if I'm talking about 10 week of this PI boundary. So what do we do in that particular space? So idea of SAFe is that it has a principle which talks about that assume variability, preserve option, and the SAFe is more inclined towards providing some sense of predictability for the PI deliveries. So it is more inclined towards predictability part of things. So in order to have a predictability in the program objective or a PI objective meeting, you need to create some space. So the innovation and planning sprint provides you a space for preparing for upcoming program increment. So something like you do some technological exploration, some level of final backlog refinement before you get into a PI planning meeting. The PI planning meeting for the next PI also happens during this innovation and planning sprint, innovation and planning iteration duration itself. So this is a space which is left for cleaning up some of the mess if it is there, which is coming from the previous PI, and preparing and doing all the preparation for upcoming PI so that we can have fruitful PI planning meeting and we can produce better solution in upcoming PI. So that's the goal of innovation and planning iteration. So we go forward and talk about something called PI level system demo. So now PI level system demo, as you can see, is something which is happening here. So you were doing system demo before. So every iteration and you were having system demo. But towards the end, when you are finishing your PI, you are done with your 4 iterations. During the innovation and planning sprint, you do a big system demo, which is called PI level system demo. In this demo, all members of Agile release trains are expected to participate. So it's like this. Before I look into the program backlog and I get into a next level of PI planning meeting, I need to see where do we stand. So the PI level system demo first ensures common understanding among stakeholders as well as in development team about the state of the system, about the solution which the complete team has developed. And it also provides a good mechanism of evaluating, measuring progress, and inspecting and adapting based on what is available in the demo. Because after this, we will be doing a PI planning meeting for upcoming PI. So we do have a PI level system demo, which happens during innovation and planning sprint. So there is an event called Inspect and Adapt in which this PI system demo happens. Okay, so PI planning meeting for the next PI, as I said, that towards the end, you do a PI planning meeting and the cycle continues. So this is something you can, I think these are the major events which I wanted to touch upon when we look into Essential Safe. Just some more time. I know it's a long video on the page where you can get some more ideas, some more fine-grained things related to Essential Safe. So I recommend you to go to scaledagileparamework.com, click the tab Essential Safe. Here you can find the final and more authentic information related to Scaled Agile framework. We spoke about these roles. These are the Agile release train roles. We looked into some of these artifacts and PI planning and all. There are many things which we have not spoken about, and that's what I tell you that you may want to explore this thing in more detail with the help of scaledagileparamework.com or by taking some of the programs which are provided by the Scaled Agile partner. We do provide programs which can help you learning in the training setting. Now, few things I want to mention. One thing is that each of these icons are clickable. So if you understand, I believe after looking at my video, you get a fair understanding of how this thing work, and then you can start clicking. And when you click, you can get more information about that particular thing. So maybe start clicking. The another thing which I want to emphasize here is I was speaking more on the mechanics. So this is meeting, that is meeting, and but there are a lot of mindset and thinking part which supports the Essential Safe. So you can see that part in detail here. So there are I'm just highlighting. So you can see a core values, mindset, and safe principles. So this is the area which tells you what the ideas behind creating these events and mechanics and artifacts of doing things, because they are just doing part of it. And the another essential part which is also important to be looked when you are looking into Essential Safe is a customer centricness. So this customer centricity is again a mindset which is more about thinking about customer needs and meeting them, rather than thinking of what solution need to develop, but we need to start from what problem customer is going through, what kind of a needs customer has, and how do we solve that. So I do encourage you to explore more details about customer centricness, and then you can also see a design thinking tools which helps you to discover customers needs and expectation, which ultimately help you in creating a better program backlog item. So in our presentation we started from a program backlog, but there is a story behind that as well. So this is a part which I would recommend you to explore. Now you can see an agile release train. I have been talking about agile release train is something like this. So it's again a thing. There is another important thing which is called release on demand. Now this is something like in SAFe, there is no defined trigger for release. It's not like that every 2 weeks or every PI you should release something like that. The releasing part is that you can release as you are ready, as business is ready to take it. So that technological point of view, solutioning team should be ready to release when needed. So that's the idea. Now, so there is no pattern or rhythm for release. It's a demand based event. So you can demand, and you should create a system which can support demand based release. That's the idea of scaled agile framework. You can see that agile release train keep doing continuous exploration, continuous integration, and continuous deployment, and releasing on demand. So which means it's not like that you look at the needs and program backlog only in the beginning, and after that they will get developed, and once that is done, then you will do a requirement analysis again. It's not like this. So the exploration of a program backlog, exploration of a team backlog is a continuous activity. The current backlog items may also get explored, means the current backlog item which are picked in a PI will also get explored in detail when you are doing the work. And you also do a keep exploration of upcoming PI or a program backlog items, because we need to do a just-in-time exploration. If you do it too much in advance, you might miss the real learning which is coming based on current exploration as well as customer behavioral change. So continuous exploration is continuous, development integration is continuous, and deployment is also continuous as you move to a DevOps supported thing. So SAFe, Essential SAFe also provides you a DevOps approach. You may want to check that thing into detail. So there are many things, but I feel that this much of information can help you to get started with Essential SAFe. If you want to know more, as I said multiple times, visit scaledagilepframework.com, and you can also check some of our training programs which are around SAFe. If you want to know more about trainings or something, you can drop us an email at sales@isenbridge.com. You can find these details in the comment area of this video as well. Thank you for watching.